Good morning on this Wednesday, the 21st of October, and I'm here in Marillion Harbour, about an hour and a half drive south of Cairns. Behind me is actually a sugar mill, and and the port is off to one side. Have a go, David. It's quite a beautiful little sleepy fishing port, and tug there for the bulk sugar handlers. Today, Book of Daniel, chapter 6, and it's quite a well-known story. Daniel and the pit of lions. Darius decided to appoint 120 governors to hold office throughout the empire. In addition, he chose Daniel and two others to supervise the governors and look after the king's interests. Daniel soon showed that he could do better work than the other supervisors or the governors. Because he was so outstanding, the king considered putting him in charge of the whole empire. And then the supervisors and governors tried to find something wrong with the way that Daniel administered the empire, but they couldn't, because Daniel was reliable and didn't do anything wrong or dishonest. And they said to each other, we're not going to find anything which to accuse Daniel unless it's something in connection with his religion. So they went to see the king and said, King Darius, may your majesty live forever. All of us who administer your empire, the supervisors, the governors, lieutenant governors, and the other officials have agreed that your majesty should issue an order and enforce it strictly. Give orders that for 30 days no one is to be permitted to request anything from any god or from any human being except from your majesty. Anyone who violates this order is to be thrown into the pit filled with lions. So let your majesty issue this order and sign it and be enforced, and let it be a law of the Medes and Persians which cannot be changed. So King Darius signed the order. When Daniel learned that the order had been signed, he went home, and upstairs room of his house where the windows faced towards Jerusalem, there, just as he always had done, he knelt. He opened windows and prayed to God 3 times a day. When Daniel's enemies observed him praying to God, all of them went to the king to accuse Daniel, and they said, Majesty, you signed an order for the next 30 days. Anyone who requested anything from God or from any human being except you would be thrown into a pit filled with lions. The king replied, yes, that's a strict order. The law of the Medes and Persians can't be changed. And then they said to the king, Daniel, one of the exiles from Judah, does not respect your majesty or obey the order you issued. He prays regularly 3 times a day. When the king heard this, he was upset and did his best to find some way to rescue Daniel. He kept trying till sunset. And Daniel's enemies came back to the king and said to him, your majesty knows, according to the laws of Medes and Persians, no other order the king issues can be changed. So the king gave orders for Daniel to be taken and thrown to the pit filled with lions, and he said to Daniel, may your God, whom you serve so loyally, rescue you. The stone was put over the mouth of the pit, and the king placed his own royal seal and the seal of his nobleman on the stone so that no one could rescue Daniel. Then the king returned to the palace and spent a sleepless night without food or any form of entertainment. At dawn, the king got up and hurried to the pit. When he got there, he called out anxiously, Daniel, servant of the living God, was the God you have served so loyally able to save you from the lions? Daniel answered, may your majesty live forever. God sent his angel to shut the mouths of the lions so they would not hurt me. He did this because he knew that I was innocent, and because I have not wronged you, your majesty. The king was overjoyed and gave orders for Daniel to be pulled up out of the pit. So they pulled him up and saw that he had not been hurt at all, for he trusted God. And the king gave orders to arrest all those who accused Daniel, and he had them thrown, together with their wives and children, into the pit filled with lions. Before they even reached the bottom of the pit, the lions pounced on them and broke all their bones. And then he issues an edict talking about Daniel's God. It's an interesting story. People sometimes are out to get us. And in this case, here's Daniel doing absolutely everything the right way, and precisely because he is doing exactly the right thing. People are out to get him. Sometimes doing the right thing doesn't lead you to a win. Jesus warned us of that. You follow him, do the right thing. The things that they did to him, Jesus said, they will do to you also. And these are people who Daniel would have worked with day by day, people who've been supervising, who decided to get rid of him. It was really hard to endure that as a leader. It does happen from time to time. It's not a pleasant experience. In this case, it was potentially fatal, and Daniel is rescued. We're not told what Daniel thinks about all of this, but somehow he survives. And given the nature of politics within that particular kingdom, Daniel's still there long after this emperor ceases to be the leader. And the internal politics were just as vicious as Darius was to the people who had tricked him. All praise and buttering him up, but trapping the king, and he responded. Daniel managed to survive through that regime and a number of others that lived to a ripe old age in a time and a place where that was just unheard of. Remain faithful to God. And even though you may go through circumstances which may take you low, where people may try to seize control from the things that you've been given responsibility for, where you may be maligned, where your reputation may be blackened, the only opinion that matters is the opinion of the living God. Trust Jesus. And if you're wrong, confess to him. Allow him to draw you to a place where you need to be. Allow him to transform and change you. But remain faithful and ask for his strength in doing so. Lord, watch over us. We know there's times and circumstances where as your people, we will be challenged. Precisely because we are your people. Lord, forgive us our faults. Let us not bear the consequences of our iniquities, but bring healing and restoration and transform the world around us, keeping us faithful to you that we may ever enjoy your consolations, your joy, and your life. Amen.